Good morning, FlossTube. It's Lynette at Homesteading on the Home Front. It is Sunday morning, November 5th, 2022, and I know it's been a hot minute. Life has been busy, but I am at the Stitch-In at the Farm Retreat here in New Hampshire, and I brought stuff to make a FlossTube, and I hadn't gotten to it until I woke up at crazy early this morning because we changed the clocks back and my body is still on normal time. So I have an extra hour this morning before we have breakfast and say our goodbyes and head home. So I figured I would film. I'm a little nasally. This is like week 4 of something that's going around that's not COVID. So if you're a returning viewer and surprised to see my face and wondering why my voice is different, that's why. Anyway, lots to catch up on. I will probably be sprinkling life updates throughout the video. If not, I'll throw them at the end to, give you just a little quick catch up on what we're doing. But I just want to get into what I have. I know I have some whips, at least one, that aren't here. So you won't see that. I know I have some finishes that aren't here, so you'll see them when I FFO them. But I will show you what I have. I didn't even look to see the last time I filmed, but literally it's been months and months. So there's lots new to show as well. The first thing that I wanted to show you, where's my picture? Again, lots discombobulated here. Many of us began this here at the farm. This is Live on Little by Plum Street. And I knew that counting and retreat stitching do not work for me. So I decided to start in the middle, which is unusual for me. I'm usually a corner starter. I started in the middle to get the roof outlined so that I could fill it in. I outlined it. I actually kind of cheated and outlined the roof before the retreat started. I started filling in the roof yesterday morning after breakfast. I stitched until lunch. We took a break to have a lovely picnic lunch, of all things, in New Hampshire in November. It was in the low 70s and gorgeous, and so we picnicked out on the lawn here in the picnic tables at the foot of Mount Monadnock. Beautiful scenery. It was a fantastic lunch. Anyway, after lunch, I went for a quick hike because there are lots of hiking trails here. Came back, worked on the roof, took a break for dinner. We had our smalls exchange, and then finally finished the roof at like 9 o'clock last night. I'm glad it's done, but it wasn't fun stitching on brown the entire day. Also, I love this saying. It says, "How great the blessing and vast the art to live on little with a thankful heart." Yes, I love this saying. It's the story of my life. But the people living in this house are not living on little. So, like many people, I'm going to change the wording. I don't exactly know what I'm changing it to yet, but I think it's going to be something from Eternal Father, which is the Navy theme, the Navy hymn. Any new viewers, my husband is retired Navy, and I spent 18 years as a Navy spouse. So I thought that might be a good something to change the words to. My next whip, I do not have a picture because it's an Etsy download. It is from Stitches Through the Years on Etsy. And as soon as she came out with this chart, I knew I had to stitch it. And I showed it to Amy Gable Stitcher, who had already seen it and was like, yes. So she and I were together at the New Jersey retreat in July, and we started it. So this is what I have so far. Prior to this week, I did not have any of the house, but I realized the house would be great retreat stitching. So last Monday, I outlined the roof, I outlined this, I made the windows. And so this was my Friday stitching at the retreat. I got here really early. Little one had to be at the school at 6:30 a.m. And so I dropped her off and I kept going to New Hampshire. So I literally walked in when everyone else was eating breakfast, which was fine. I got to talk to everyone, but I got to spend the rest of the day stitching. So it was like having a whole day. Usually I can't get here until late in the afternoon on Fridays, so that was a treat. So I finished the red. I started on the gray. I wanted to finish the whole house, but you know how retreat stitching and goals go. You never stitch as much as you think you're going to because of all the talking. All right, this next stitch is part of a series. This will be the over the hump. I'm stitching 7 of these. I have 3 done. This one will be the 4th, and then I will have 3 to go. So again, it's an online purchase, so I don't have a picture for you. The designer is countryMagicStitch.com. She has a whole series of states with flowers. And so I purchased all of the states that we lived in as a Navy family, figuring I was going to have to design Guam myself, which I didn't really want to do, but you do what you got to do, right? So when I actually started stitching the series, which was long after I actually purchased it, I emailed her and I said, is there any way that you could design Guam? Because she's got all 50 states plus England and, not lots of, but several other places. And so within 24 hours, you guys, I had a chart for Guam, and it cost me a whopping $4. Best $4 I've ever spent. But anyway, I am currently working on Maryland. So what I did was I outlined everything. I stitched the non-black colors that so I wouldn't have to count around them. There will be a big flower here, and there will be a heart near Annapolis where we lived, and that is Maryland. This is a great project to take with me when I'm substitute teaching, because usually I'm teaching math, but there's always a study hall I need to cover, or, the period when the teacher has a prep that I have no kid responsibilities. And so I take my stitching and I get paid to stitch. It's kind of a good gig. And then the third and final, I don't know where my picture is, but I will tell you that it's a blackbird design, so you're probably quite familiar with it. My book is somewhere that is out in the other room, so I'm not going to run and get it. But this was a project that I started. Did I start? I think I started it at the New Jersey retreat, so that meant I had 2 starts there. Wow. I think it's called Mighty Oak in the Blackbird book, but I changed the saying. So I think the original saying was like Mighty Oaks from Little Acorns Grow or something like that. So I changed it to Raise the Song of Harvest Home. I'm also changing the color of the house. It was originally done in Schneckley. Not a beautiful color. So as much as I don't usually change Blackbird colors, I changed the house. All of the other colors are a mixture of called for and whatever I had in my stash. So this is going to be my project this morning. After breakfast, I'll stitch for an hour and a half before I head out, and I will be working on filling in the house. And then I'm hoping, because I'm very much a seasonal stitcher, so I'm very much hoping to get this done around Thanksgiving so that I can then immediately switch gears into Christmas stitching. All right, so those are my whips that I currently have going. 4 of them anyway. Like I said, there might be another one. I don't remember. I feel like right now I have more whips than I've ever had. Oh, there's definitely another one. There's a sampler at home on linen that I didn't take with me. I forgot to mention, all of these are being done on 20 count Aida. I probably don't know the colors, which is why I didn't mention them. But 20 count Aida is my new favorite. I can stitch on it in the car. I can stitch in hand. It's cheaper from a distance. It doesn't look like Aida at all. The only thing now that I am stitching on linen would be samplers, reproduction samplers. If it's a modern take on a sampler, it's going on 20 count linen. All right, so those are my whips. Let me get one of these. Now I have a whole bunch of other things. FFOs, smalls exchanges, etc., etc. Oh, I did bring it. So let's start. Let's start with today's, or this retreat's smalls exchange. This is from a lovely lady named Barbara Harry, who I had never met before. So this retreat last year, we had 74 people. We were still dealing with COVID stuff, so it was supposed to be more, but people had to cancel. This retreat, we have 86 people. We are quickly approaching capacity. I think there were 2 empty rooms in the whole place. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. It's a great retreat. Just a little blurb for those of you who haven't heard about it anywhere else. We come to East Hill Farm in Troy, New Hampshire. It's literally in the middle of nowhere. I think I'm the only person who can get cell service and internet. Some people have no connectivity at all. Other people do get some service in certain places on the farm. My good old cricket service has never failed me, and so I do get service here. But all of the meals are included. They are amazing, amazing meals. They're just delicious. This is one of those retreats where you do not need to bring snacks with you because you are not hungry between meals. Like I mentioned, there are hiking trails, so I always try to get out and have a good hike at least once to kind of work off some of those meals. But it's a great place. It's not an easy retreat to get into because they let you. So I am not the organizer of the retreat. Everything is done through East Hill Farm. You make your room arrangements through them. There's no set schedule. Basically, you show up and stitch, and then when it's mealtime, you eat. That's it. You want to go for a walk? Go for a walk. You want to go pet the farm animals? Go pet the farm animals. But there's no set retreat, and there's no like real organizer in charge. All I did was say to the inn, hey, you do knitting retreats. How about you host a cross stitch retreat? And they, handle all of the arrangements, and that's it. So if you're a person who likes informal retreats and just wants to sit and stitch and enjoy the company of others, this would be a great retreat for you. If you want hardcore scheduling, not the retreat for you. But anyway, it's not an easy retreat to get into because when you arrive this year, the inn allows you to reserve your room for next year. It's not to say it's impossible to get into. We had a dozen more people, and then we probably had some new people beyond that. So I'm going to say we might have had 24 new people here this year that weren't here last year. So the vast majority are returnees. I will say, if you want to get in, call the inn, get on a wait list, because inevitably there are cancellations. And even if you can't get in on the wait list, mark off your calendar for the first weekend in November, plan to be here, and then cross your fingers for last minute cancellations, because those always happen too. All right, anyway, we do a smalls exchange, and this year I was lucky enough to get a biscornu that is lovingly, beautifully stitched by Barbara Harry. I do not currently own any biscornus. I've never made one. I've never stitched one. Look at that. She's just, the work is impeccable. So I think what I'm going to do is hook a hanger through here and make it into a Christmas ornament. Because I told the group last year, a lovely lady, and I don't remember who it was, I was talking to her and she said she always starts a Christmas ornament and stitches on it at the retreats that she goes to, so that then she can have every year as she's hanging on her tree a lovely memory of the retreat. And I was like, oh, that's such a good idea. Why didn't I think of that? I might have to start that. And somebody else said, or you could just choose a Christmas theme from the Smalls Exchange. Because our rule here, it's the only rule there is that the wrapping on your Smalls Exchange gift should match the theme of the stitch. So usually we have fall, we have Halloween, we have Christmas. Farm themes are popular here. So that way, if, like, I'm not a big Halloween person, I will do autumn all day long, but I'm not an actual Halloween person. So I don't have to take one of those Halloween themes. If you don't celebrate Christmas, you don't have to take a Christmas theme. So it just works out that way. And so I try always to get a Christmas theme so that I have a memory of the retreat. So anyway, that was Barbara's stitch for me this retreat, and it was lovely. You can go to our Facebook page to see pictures of all of the Smalls exchanges. I know I posted them there. I will try to post them on my Instagram once I get faster internet service. I said it last year, and this year just rings true again, that this Smalls exchange is probably the best that I've ever participated in. Not that there have been any bad ones, but these are just exceptional. Maybe a little biased, but we have a lot of talent. All right, what else do I have here? So I mentioned that I went to the New Jersey retreat in July. Amy Gable Stitcher and I hopped in the car early in the morning. We drove down. We had zero traffic problems through Connecticut and New York and New Jersey. And we got to Needleworkers Delight and did our shopping, and then showed up at the hotel. And you guys, it was a great retreat. We had a wonderful table. I met some FlossTube friends that I had never met before in person. I got to see Donna Ray because she came up from Virginia. It was just a lovely, lovely, lovely time. And that's another retreat where it's sit and stitch and visit. We'll tell you when it's Friday night pizza dinner time. Other than that, do your thing. And it was fantastic. We signed up as soon as we could for next year, because that's just a retreat we don't want to miss. So Arlene does a fantastic job, and her team is amazing. So at that Smalls Exchange, I was the lucky recipient of this lovely pincushion. And this was stitched by Kristen Cow Stitcher, fellow Navy spouse. And look at the back of this. She just did an amazing finishing job. And I think that's all I'm going to say about New Jersey. I stitched on the Blackbird project. I stitched on the project with Amy. I forgot what else I stitched on there. So going back in time in the early spring, March or April, it was April. It was the end of April, I think. I had organized a little retreat at a Salvation Army Conference Center. It was basically Frugal Yankee. For those of you who have been with me for a while, you know that the first kind of group retreat in New England that wasn't classes, we called Frugal Yankee, because we basically made reservations at a Residence Inn and took over their breakfast area for the weekend and just sat and stitched and got to know each other in person, because a lot of us had never met before other than through FlossTube. And so Frugal Yankee. And so many of the OG Frugal Yankees and some of our new friends got together at the Salvation Army camp, had a lovely retreat. All the meals were included and delicious. The rooms there were like hotel rooms. They weren't camp rooms. So it was lovely. I wish I could plan another one, but my spring this year is just going to be too crazy and hectic. So I have passed the torch for planning a spring frugal retreat to Heather and Kristen, and we'll see what they come up with. But anyway, at that retreat, this was the loveliness that I got at the Smalls Exchange. This was stitched by Donna, who is Helen D's sister. It was finished by Helen D. And look at, it's adorable. And this chart, I should have brought it with me. It's in the other room. This chart is in the same Just Cross Stitch magazine that Helen's Christmas ornament is in. Finally got my hands on that issue at the freebie exchange here. I tried to buy what I thought was the issue with Helen's ornament, and it wasn't in there. So I was thrilled to get the issue with her ornament. And if I want to stitch this guy, because he's so adorable, I can. Also at that retreat, I was given a little gift by Lorraine, who is Hugo Lane Stitcher. This beautiful needle book. Look at that. Can you see the detail? It's absolutely beautiful. So thank you, Lorraine. I know there are other things that I just didn't grab when I left home. So you'll have to forgive me if I'm not showing what you're expecting me to show. All right, so everything else is finishes, and I have one FFO. So I told you about the states. Massachusetts is done. So you can see what I mean. Like every state is a black silhouette and then a flower. And I believe the flowers are all the same. They're just different rotations. So Massachusetts, and then came Newport, Rhode Island. Newport was our first duty station. So you can see I put a little heart where Newport is. So that's Newport, and then this is Mississippi. A little heart down there for Gulfport. And I have no idea what I'm going to do with these when they're all stitched. Originally, I was thinking of framing them and like hanging them all together on the wall. I don't have wall space for that. And these, like, they're all different shapes. So I would have to use different size frames, and they would have to be probably custom. Not interested in that. So I may make a wall hanging or something like that. We'll see. All right, so that was my one finish. This was another finish. It is not, it is technically FFO'd. I just didn't bring the frame with me because I didn't want to break it. I finished the sparrow sampler. And it is all laced. I did not do any of the called for colors on this one. I just kind of pulled from my stash according to the picture. And then I have yet to make a berry. I have several stitched. I have yet to finish them. So this is Erica Michaels' The Spring Berries. I wanted to stitch the one with the robin because the uncle that I was closest to was Uncle Leroy. And every year he would always claim to have seen the first robin. If someone said, "Hey, I saw a robin today," he would be like, "I saw one last week." So robins remind me of him. Cardinals remind me of my Aunt Audrey, because there were a bunch of, after she passed away, we looked at the pictures on her digital camera, and a lot of them were cardinals at her bird feeder. And of course, a visit from a cardinal means a visit from a loved one. So robins remind me of Uncle Leroy. Cardinals remind me of Aunt Audrey. But this one said, "Is it spring yet?" or something like that. And I didn't want that. So I changed it to "No spring skips its turn." Have I finished it into the berry? No. I also have another one stitched. I think it's called Merry Christmas or something. It's got a moose on it. I bought that from the Daily Stitcher at our Frugal Empire retreat. I believe that was when did we do that? November of 2019, because I think it was right before COVID hit. So I bought that, stitched it, was going to use it as my smalls for the next Frugal Yankee retreat, which never happened because of COVID. So I've never finished that one either. So berry finishing is in my future. All right, the last thing I have to show you is this lovely piece, Winter Rose Manor. Everyone has seen it. I loved it. Could not find the house color, right? The house color is pinky. The called for dye lot was just tan. I think we all know what we went through trying to find that color. So I chose a substitution and I got stitching it, and I really didn't love it. So I decided to make a small, give it away at a smalls exchange, and then stitch the whole thing again in a different color. Well, I got it FFO'd and decided I didn't want to give it away. So this is going to be my Winter Rose Manor. I'm not going to stitch the whole thing, I don't think. I did see the companion piece that Brenda designed for an exclusive retreat that will probably be released and then, next year. And it's gorgeous. So I may have to stitch both of them. But for now, this is what we've got. This is on a magnet. This is just wired on, so I can reuse the mounting. But there we go. Robin's in the last one for Uncle Leroy, Cardinals in this one for Aunt Audrey. And we'll make it straight. I really liked how this one came out. And that's everything in my pile. I got a new phone, so I can record longer than 30 minutes without my camera shutting off on me. Couldn't even think about recording a long video on my last phone. So there's that. Life updates. So the reason I haven't been making videos as often is that my husband is working from home. And there's just never a good time to film because he's working. And either I will film in the dining room, which is adjacent to his office, or I will film in the living room, which is pretty next to his office. So it just hasn't been convenient, and we've been busy. For my faithful viewers who are looking for an update on little one, she's 17. She's driving. She's working. She's drum major of the marching band. She's living her best life. But yeah, 17. It's crazy. Eldest started at UConn this past fall. She's doing amazing. She has just blossomed. She's not the same kid that she was when she left home. She's doing marching band. She's going to compete with the archery club. She's involved with the actuarial society. She's going to be tutoring on campus. So she's doing great. So, we actually get to see her pretty often. UConn is a just 35-40 minute ride on back roads away from us, because don't forget, we live 100 feet over the Connecticut border in Massachusetts. So when it comes to tuition, that's a very expensive 100 feet. But that's okay. UConn is where she belongs. There's no doubt in anyone's mind that she is exactly where she's supposed to be. So I'm not sure if you will ever see them again on FlossTube videos, but they're doing well. In fact, I was just at Pam's shop at Stitch New England, and I found a Glendon Place project that, I forget exactly what it says, but something like meddle not in the affairs of dragons, for thou art crunchy and taste good with ketchup, or something like that. I have no idea where the quote came from, but she has liked that quote for a long time because she's into dragons. So I sent her a picture and she texted back, yes. And I said, yes, as in you want to stitch it, or yes, as in you want mom to stitch it for you? And she came back with, yes, I will stitch it. So that's all kitted up and waiting for her to have time. She's also been into dine-in painting. So, yeah, not a lot of spare time, but they are both still crafting. Little one got into crochet, so she's been doing that, but again, not a lot of time. And I have been busy. I am still subbing, but I am not taking any long-term positions because I'm trying to get my flower farm off the ground. This was year 2. We had a huge drought in Massachusetts, so it wasn't the easiest year, but I learned a lot, and next year's going to be even better. So hopefully it won't be months and months and months until I see you again. Thanks for coming back and watching. Welcome if you were a new person. I will see you in the funnies, as Uncle Leroy used to say. Bye, FlossTube.